Hi, and welcome back to MyTrickRC. Today we're going to walk you through the installation of our Axial Blazer light kit. So this kit is specifically designed for this body. And before we get into the details of what how to do the installation and what it's included, I wanted to go through with you kind of the features and what does the kit all come with. So first of all, it comes with halogen headlights. So unlike our normal LEDs that have this kind of pure white or a little bit bluish color, these LEDs have a really warm halogen look to them. It's very scale. The kit also has orange LEDs for the front markers, rear, tail and brake lights, and reverse. And the way that the tail and brake is implemented on this truck, the brake lights are normally on if you're standing still or reversing, and only go off or go into dim mode when you're driving forward. That's a little bit different than our previous implementations of brake lights on our previous UF7 controller. So this kit actually comes with a new version of our UF7. It's our UF7B controller, and the B controller is basically, we took our original controller and we figured out a way to make a different program to give it more functionality and more power. And it has some really neat features. In addition to that, it also has automatic hazard lights. So if your vehicle comes to rest for 20 seconds, hazard lights will automatically, all the lights will shut off, hazard lights will begin blinking. So your front markers and your rear, tail, and brake. It's a really cool effect. But if you decide you don't like that, you can shut it off. There's a way that we have to be able to toggle that off so the lights just stay as they normally are. Also, with this controller, the original version of this controller, the pigtail on here was really just meant for police flasher bars or that kind of thing. But with the UF7B, we discovered that we can actually use this to power a light bar. So we'll be able to power a light bar and be able to on-off switch all of the LEDs on a third channel. So you'll be able to attach a light bar, and then if you have a third channel on your controller, you'll be able to turn all of your lights on and off remotely on the third channel. So some really cool features with the new UF7 controller. All right, let's take a look at what all you need to do the installation and what's included in the kit. So what all is included in the kit is, of course, the UF7B. It comes with two cables, one for your tail brake and reverse, the other for the third channel, switching on off, and a 9-volt power adapter. This controller, if you attach the 9-volt, you can power the entire system off of a 9-volt battery if you want to. You won't have any of the brake light function or any of that, but you actually can just turn the lights on, and it does have it does respond and have settings for each mode if it is powered off of a 9-volt battery, so the settings will kind of match the mode that you're in. So the kit also comes with the two halogen headlights, two 3mm reverse, two 3mm tail brake, and the front marker lights 3mm as well. The kit also includes rear taillight buckets, so that's something MyTrickRC we just include in the kit, as well as the mounting hardware to attach the bracket to hold the LEDs in place, and we'll show you how this actually installs into the body here, and necessary mounting hardware. As far as tools go, you'll need some kind of like cutters. You can use scissors, but it's better to have some kind of a cutter like this if you can get it. A razor blade, you're going to need to scrape the paint off for the light to shine through where the taillight buckets are. You'll need a small socket wrench, and either something like an E6000 you can buy at Home Depot, or Zap Glue, Shoe Glue, something to that effect to actually glue this guy in place. Some tape is really helpful, and that's really it. So with that, let's jump into the installation. The first thing we did was to put our controller in place, and the way we did that is you just peel the sticker, the adhesive back on it, and you can place it. You can put it in a different location if you want to. You don't have to put it here. Just think about it before you do it. We lined this up to where the motor and the battery were to make sure that it would be in a clear area. The controller we oriented this way. E is the headlights, so we plugged in the headlights, the front running lights, the rear tail and brake, and the reverse. So this is port A, B, D, and E. At this point, we could plug in with a 9-volt battery, just test it. We could go through the modes, make sure, set the mode we're in, make sure everything is working good, and then if it is, then we can jump into installing the LEDs. The LEDs are actually, the front LEDs are held in place. The kit came with these parts, so they're little screws and little brackets, and that's what we use to install the front ones. And on the back ones, we have the 3D printed buckets. We just cut the pieces apart. We slid the LEDs into here and then just put the screw in that came with the kit. Just like that. And the next step will be to just glue it in place. Next, we need to scrape away the area where the light is going to be shining through. And you can decide how much of this you want to remove, how much of the paint you want to remove. You can use a Dremel or a razor blade. You just need a way to scrape the paint off. One note of caution, the stickers on the outside that you want to line up to, the taillight stickers, they don't necessarily match the lines on the body. So I would recommend you do a small spot, put your light bucket up where you think it should be, test it, see if you're in the right position. You may need to scrape paint even on the line. It could be off as that much. We've seen that. So anyway, when you do the installation, just be a little cautious about that, but you will need to scrape the paint away for the light to shine through. Okay, and there you go. Now we got tail brake and reverse. Hopefully this can stay in focus. Looks pretty cool. While this is setting up and drying, we're going to go ahead and install the Y cable, the power cable, into the receiver. On your chassis, this is the receiver box. We used our drill with this 2mm socket to unscrew these 4 screws. Inside of here is your receiver. There's 2 cables connected to the receiver. One is for your steering servo and the other is for your tail and brake. The cable that we want is going to be the one for the motor, and that's going to be the one connected to port 2. And I don't know if you can see that in there, but they're labeled, and port 2 is the one for the motor. So what we're going to do is we're going to unplug that, and we're going to plug our Y cable into there. So I'm going to use this to kind of help pull this out. Let's see what we got here. There we go. Okay, so we unplugged that from port 2. Now we're going to plug it into the Y cable, and then plug the Y cable into port 2. Did we get it? I think we did. Looks like we got it. Okay. And then we can kind of stuff these cables in here. Ideally, you want to get it through this little connector. And you can pull this up, lift it out. It's kind of a little bit of a pain. It takes a little bit of finagling to get it in there, but you can stuff all this extra wire into here so that it remains sealed when you put the cover back on. Okay, this is how it looks up close. This is our connector. Make sure your orientations are correct, so white goes to white, both down here and at the connector. At this point, rather than putting the cover on just yet, we should connect the battery, connect the UF7, and do a test of the wiring system. Actually, before we do the dry run, I almost forgot we have a second Y cable. This is going to be for on-off control of our lighting system. So this one, we're going to take this end, and you'll notice on the UF7, on the receiver, there's one connector that's still open. That's channel 3. So we're going to plug this into channel 3, again, making sure the orientation is correct. A little bit hard to see in here. Okay, that's it. Perfect, okay. Now, we should also mark one of these wires, so we know which one is for the motor and which one is for the third channel. Okay, let's go ahead and connect our cables. We'll do the motor first, making sure that the black wire is towards port A. Now the third channel switch. Okay, everything is good. Following good procedure, let's turn on the radio first. Connect power. We'll boot up. Takes a minute here. Okay, looks like it's on. On-off switching, so you can remotely on-off control all of your lights. It'll turn all of the lights, so whether you have additional lights, light bar, whatever you have connected to this, it turns all the lights on and off remotely on your third channel. As far as functionality goes, we have tail and reverse. It looks like we have something a little backwards here. When we drive forward, it is exactly backwards. You'll notice the brake lights, when we would be driving forward, they go from full bright to dim. So normally the brake is on, whether you're at rest or you're reversing, and then when you drive forward, it would actually go to dim. What you can do is, there's a button on here, we can switch this, and then take and switch the polarity to the motor, and that'll solve it. Then it'll behave exactly as it should be. At this point, it looks pretty good. We can go tidy it up, put the cover back on. We always like to wrap our wires with the masking tape. It looks really good. So we'll probably go ahead and do that. And let's take a look and see how it looks all finished on the truck. Here's how it looks all cleaned up, and with the box closed, tidied up. We can throw it on here, and let's take a few good shots of this baby.